So apparently Gypsy Rose Blanchard is hemorrhaging followers. I am so confused on a number of things. I am confused by these people who are now turning on her. What did you think happened? It was all there. The trial, the transcripts, it was out. The photos are not giving any new information. So apparently people are just realizing that Dee Blanchard was murdered. From what I understand, which is basically just from the Crime Weekly episode, pictures of the crime scene were leaked, and some of Gypsy Rose's fans are upset because they just saw the scene of the murder that Gypsy was sentenced for and served her time for and has been open about all along. If you are one of those people, I mean this with the utmost, not necessarily respect, but curiosity. Can you please explain to me what you thought happened? Because you really should have known that she killed her mother. Not physically, she had her boyfriend kill her mother, but she was responsible. She arranged the death of her mother. So why are you fleeing now? I wonder if people just didn't process that it was real until they saw the photos. I think that happens a lot in this upper, I wish I had like a real terminology for it, but this surface layer of mainstream true crime fans that don't get deep into the cases and don't seem to really get the true part of true crime. You know, these people where everything's a campfire story and it's just thrilling and fun to talk about. I guess that could be it. But she's been so open about everything that happened. You know, even if I see it as justified, and it was a murder. It's terrible. It's horrible. I never looked at Gypsy and forgot. You know, she did what she did. She served her time. And I don't understand supporting her and then leaving because you find out that she killed her mother. Surprise. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I legitimately don't understand. I know that there are so many people who don't take it in as true, who don't take these cases as real human beings, who just leave it on a surface level, and it doesn't get emotional for them. And I get that. I get that detachment. I get that compartmentalizing. But I don't get it when you then go on to follow a case or a person or a killer. Why would you follow Gypsy and not look into what she had done? I guess personally, I'm a little just tired of her. I don't follow her on any of my platforms, and I still see her a lot. It's kind of unavoidable, even though I'm not feeding the algorithm that I want more Gypsy Rose. I'm really not. And it keeps coming. I followed the case from the beginning. I felt bad for her. I feel like her mother was, on one hand, a monster who deserved death, if anyone does. On the other hand, a mentally ill woman who I think there were signs people ignored, people that could have stepped in and done something to help. But nothing was done, and she did become a monster, and she abused her daughter to the point that most of the world feels her daughter was justified in killing her. And that's kind of the end of it. You know, she went to prison. There is a part of me that was happy to see her voice normalizing and to see her gain weight and start adjusting and developing into what she's supposed to be at this age, what she would have been had her mother not stunted her development. And I felt like prison was the best place we have as a nation to offer someone like her, to give her a place to transition between this life of being sheltered and helpless and abused into just a normal productive life. We don't have anything like that. And it's fair that she pay for what she did. So I think there are different levels to true crime watchers. There is the true crime community, the people that are really invested and who think of these as real people and care about the victims and their families and follow cases for years. And then there are people who watch a 15-minute overview and feel like that's all they need to know about a case. There are people who treat these cases like campfire stories and horror movies, and who develop crushes on serial killers because in their head it's not real, it's just a horror movie. And why not? It's so disturbing. And it doesn't make any sense, especially if someone is pleading guilty and admitting what they did. There's no reason for you to watch them and defend them when they're not defending themselves. I guess as a kid, I glamorized some of the Wild West figures a bit. You know, Billy the Kid, that kind of thing.
I'll make you famous.
You think about that person and not their victims, and it really shapes things differently. If you stop to think about their victims and to think about the victims as real human beings, it does change things. I know that these people exist. I stood next to this woman with this Ted Bundy teddy bear bag and blood spatter t-shirt. I was embarrassed. I've actually felt embarrassed on behalf of the true crime community. A victim's loved one shouldn't have to deal with that. And I don't think it's inherent in the true crime and wine thing, or even the true crime and makeup thing, which I personally really dislike. I think you can do that and still remain really respectful of the person you're talking about and what they went through, who they were, what this world lost in losing them. I think that that's doable, but people will only take in what they want to. I mean, to some extent, you can't take in everything. You just can't. The human brain can't process that much. So we all have cases that just sink in and mean a lot to us. But I do think that there's room to acknowledge every real case as real people. We need to make sure the true in true crime is understood. I think that Gypsy is a twisted, fucked up person. And maybe it's natural. More likely it was caused by her mother. But it's there. It doesn't make sense to me to ignore that and glamorize her. She is not queen. She is not mother. What the fuck is all that? I hope she does well. I have no negative wishes for her. I hope she's getting therapy she needs. I hope she's beyond just therapy. I hope she is seeing a psychiatrist. You know, not a psychiatric nurse, not a practitioner, not just, I mean, a psychologist, sure, but not just a psychologist. She needs medication and therapy combined with someone who specializes in the kind of trauma that she went through. Not just the Munchausen by proxy, but long-term abuse, medical abuse. These are things that I think you need some specialization in to really be effective as a therapist. And she's in a position where any specialist in the country is going to reach out to her. But she was never an innocent victim when it comes to the murder. And I just cannot get over... Okay, I acknowledge that she says it was not consensual. I just don't believe her. That she had sex with this man after he killed her mother. And all I can think is that he would have still been covered in her mother's blood. And that really sickens me. Even more than the act of killing her mother, because I do think she believed that was her only means of escape. And maybe it was. I get killing her, but I mean, at least make the guy take a shower or something. She shouldn't have been glorified. I understand her having supporters, but I don't really understand fans. And if you're going to be a fan, you can't pretend that she didn't have her part in this. Most of the true crime community has an awareness that the true means something, that this isn't fiction. These are real people. And I think that the true crime community also has some integrity and empathy. And so the true crime fan world is just this glossing the surface thing of looky-loos. It's a really superficial mentality that spawned people like that woman in the blood spatter t-shirt at CrimeCon. And CrimeCon is the place to wear it to an extent. At the bar at the end of the day, sure. But when you're getting the opportunity to speak one-on-one, or, 3 or 4 people at a time, to speak with a survivor or the family member of someone who was lost to violence, I think it's just tacky. It is insensitive and classless. I really don't know the right word for it, but it was embarrassing. I think that they are a minority, and I'm glad it sounds like a few of them got a wake-up call with Dee Dee's photos. And maybe they will get out of true crime, or maybe they will get deeper in and really become advocates for victims. These people, they make us all look like ghouls. They make creators look like they're just profiteers. From the outside, it makes the true crime community look like we all just glorify killers, that we're romanticizing violence. I think you have to get into it a bit to understand that the majority are really just trying to help or trying to understand. Some are trying to prevent it. It's a lot of different but valuable intentions. Most of us follow multiple cases, and we're familiar with hundreds of cases, maybe thousands. we tend to get attached to a handful of them because we just can't process the depth of every single case. It's too much for the human brain. We have these cases that are important to us individually, but I think we can take the time to acknowledge the reality of every case that we consume. I think real pain, fear, and suffering experienced by someone with an entire real life. People say hopes and dreams, but that is just such an inadequate glossing over of the emotional reality. Instead of just saying hopes and dreams, really think about what that means. What are your hopes and dreams? What does that mean to you? And think about the fact that these victims had favorite lines from movies. They had foods that they hated, and they had quirks, like whether they would rather stub their toe or hit their funny bone. They're the big things that are missed, like having a child, falling in love. But there are also small things that you think about when you lose somebody, like they died before a certain album dropped. That person never got to hear this song, and they would have loved it. Maybe they had a grudge against some level in a video game that they were determined to beat, and they didn't get to. And there is superficial, stupid stuff that is gonna occur to the family members, to loved ones. Like, they died without seeing the finale of their favorite show. We are not that different. Our species needs to learn to see ourselves in each other, even when we don't look and sound the same. They had lives just like every one of us. We need to have compassion. And when people are ripped out of this life against their will through violence, and some monster deciding that they have the right to just take somebody, we need to be enraged by that. We need creators who really see the victims as full people. People like John Lorden, Nor Jasmine, Stephanie Harlow, who, I know they're not perfect. Nobody's perfect. I don't need a list of what's wrong with everybody. But overall, they really do a great job in getting the research, getting the information, and, in my opinion, delivering it with empathy and compassion. As a community, we are responsible for the kind of content they put out. In the end, whether it's social media platforms or mainstream media, shows like Dateline and 48 Hours and whatever ID Discovery is doing, we decide the content. We decide if they cover people of color. We decide if they are going to focus on the MMIW crisis. They don't make content unless people watch. And I think we can really do a better job at rejecting creators who don't care. And I do know of a few that have massive, massive followings. People I've seen be disrespectful, that put likes over the victims and their families. I've seen poor research, evidence manipulated for shock value, clickbait titles, hounding and harassing of family members, trespassing and stalking property, mixing up the names and images of family members of victims with the killer's family members, and refusing to change it or even do a correction note. I find it frustrating. They remain popular. A lot of the comments I see are talking about how beautiful they are, because that's a thing in the true crime world. I don't know why. Pretty much every female true crime creator I can think of right now is attractive. highly attractive. I know a lot of them came from the beauty industry. Women in general are just drawn to true crime for reasons I've talked about elsewhere and will talk about in much greater depth at some other point. But a lot of beautiful women, and I don't think it's inherently wrong to say, hey, Stephanie, your hair looks great today, or, you know, Sherilyn, I love your makeup. It doesn't matter. It's okay to compliment them. It feels nice to be complimented, and we have good hair days. There's nothing wrong with that. There is a relationship there. It is parasocial, but there's nothing wrong with complimenting them. But if you happen to be like a 12 to 16-year-old girl and you're watching a creator and you really, really like her, and it's mostly because you are inspired by her look and you want to look like her, then it might be worth just writing down a standard of what you think should be done as far as the real true crime work. What level of research, whatever means something to you. And then just try to separate your emotional feelings for the creator and see if they reach your standard or not. It can be really hard when you like someone. You can deeply care about people that you've never met. The emotion is real. You care for them. And it can hurt when you realize that maybe they're not as good as you thought. Maybe they're not as respectful. Maybe you thought of them as doing a lot of cases on people of color because when they do one, they talk about it a lot. But then you notice it's maybe 1 out of 20 or 30 cases. That's not really fighting to get these people's stories told. So just set yourself up with some standard, and next time you watch, ask yourself if they meet it. If not, go watch someone else. There are lots of good ones. I really like Stephanie Harlow and Derek Levasseur together or separately. I mentioned earlier John Lorden and Nor Jasmine, who is so underrated. She is wonderful. If you like the girlfriend, the wine and crime thing, I don't think there's anything better than Sherilyn Dale. Sherilyn Dale is a anthropomorphic heart, and she has been really getting better and better at research as she goes. She's amazing. Stephanie Sue, Rotten Mango, is also really improving in integrity and focus on getting the facts straight. I actually have a lower opinion of some really big names. It's up to us. It's our eyeballs, our clicks determine what people produce, because that's where the money is. And it's always all about the money, right? If you want to just hear about Gypsy Rose or some OnlyFans prison guard or Ashley Benefield, it just encourages more material like this. So if you find a story interesting, if you see something and you think, I really wish more creators did stuff like this, share it. Tell your friends, tell people in message boards, tell your true crime community, tell anyone you can about it, and try to get it promoted. Try to get more people watching, and the more people who watch something, the more it's going to be produced. It's a simple equation. As far as these photos, I understand seeing a case on the news and not really taking it in, not processing it, not taking it seriously, or acknowledging the real human behind it. You know, we compartmentalize. There's no need to take in every case. However, if you're going to choose to follow someone, not just support them emotionally from afar, but to actually follow them on various platforms and send money and super chats and all of that. If you're going to do that kind of real, active, fan-like support, how can you not understand what happened? How do you not go back and find out what did she do exactly? How do you not know what that crime scene was before she got out of prison, before you clicked like or follow or whatever? I don't understand it. It's social media. You're free to do whatever you want, and it's not that big a deal in the greater scheme of things. But at some level, I feel like you don't even have the right to drop somebody because they told you what they are. They put up maps and drew pictures of what they are. You chose not to look, and you just got a glimpse of what has been there the whole time. And now you're turning on them. And I just don't understand that. You should have known. If you were going to follow, especially if you have given any money, you know, I don't know if she does coffee or what, but if you've given her any money, you should have looked into what actually happened. Okay, but I do have one question, and this is just to play devil's advocate here. If she was hiding in the bathroom when he killed her mother, why does the crime scene matter at all? It's not new, and she didn't physically do it. She didn't make that crime scene. Physically, at least. So why should the photos change anything at all? I don't understand that. I guess I'm done ranting for the moment. I just was a little flustered by the Crime Weekly today. I don't get it. I don't get how people would turn on her for something that has been there all along. And I'm not trying to defend her or say people should stand by her. You know, they should realize the brutality and the reality of what happened and then decide how much they want to support Gypsy, if at all. I just think they should have known what happened quite a while ago. Okay, stay safe, listen to your instincts, and I will be back when I am back. You may have noticed I am just returning to my random unscripted rants because those feel good. Those feel right. And I am absolutely terrible at keeping a schedule. I lose track of days. I lose track of everything. I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm not wearing any makeup because I have had 3 makeup bags stolen from my car now. I know. It's crazy. The car was broken into the first time, and then my husband left the window open. That doesn't mean I'm not going to keep doing the things that I've been talking about doing and wanting to do, because I really do want to do them. I just need to take some pressure off because the health issues, they are expanding because they like to do that. Degenerative diseases like to get worse, and comorbidities love to gang up against me. And I'm just having some problems, but I'm going to get out stuff as I can because it really does mean something to me. It's important to me, and I just want to be heard. You don't have to agree with me, but I would love to hear from you. I would just really like to create a YouTube forum for true crime fans. That's it. I mean, I don't think any topic should be off limits. I think there should be focus on morality and discussions about how things should be handled. But sometimes I just get upset with something. I think I tend to do my best when it's just unscripted. So I will continue trying to do a scripted thing, and I will just post these whenever they come up. I hope you're doing well, and I will see you around.